Things got weird fast. But you've got this. After all, you're pretty ingenious. And Safe Auto is here to help. We're ready to work with you in these challenging times by offering 24/7 sign-up without having to leave your house, flexible month-to-month plans, and low down payments. Because in times like these, we all need to save some money on car insurance. We're here for you. We're insurance for the rest of us. Call 1-800-SAFE-AUTO.
Apply for transportation and food service positions at Fayette County Public Schools.
Before you see it anywhere else, you'll see it on WKYT's Facebook.
Next step is to fold in the cheese.
What does fold in the cheese mean?
You fold it in.
How do you fold it?
You just fold it in.
I don't know how to fold broken cheese like that.
Take that thing that's in your hand. And
If you say fold in one more time.
It says fold it in!
Weeknights at 10 on the CW Lexington.
Ford Brothers Auctioneers, online at FordBrothersInc.com.
Good evening, I'm Sam Dick.
And I'm Amber Philpott. Saturday marks 1 year since the first COVID-19 case was confirmed in Kentucky.
It's been a long, tough year. Just about everyone probably knows someone who died or became sick from the virus. We've spent a lot of time apart from our family and friends. Many have lost their jobs and are struggling to just get by.
But we've also seen good, the celebrations of survivors, a new appreciation for loved ones, and the unique ways of staying in touch. And now the vaccine brings the hope of life returning to normal.
Tonight, a look back at the beginning of the pandemic, where we are now, and what the future will hold.
Kentucky has its first confirmed case of the coronavirus.
We're told that person is being treated in isolation at a Lexington medical facility.
This coming Monday, we are recommending that Kentucky's public and private schools cease in-person classes.
The SEC would be canceling the rest of the men's basketball tournament.
Hard to imagine all these major sporting events shut down.
That we had our first person pass away.
Child care centers across Kentucky are to close.
It's going to affect so many people. A large number of businesses that deal with the public are going to have to cease operation.
That if you travel to a different state, that you will be required to quarantine.
I understand the need for caution, but I think it's gone way past.
No more fear!
And everybody should be able to express their opinion that believes we should reopen Kentucky immediately right now. Folks, that would kill people.
For so many weeks, we didn't know if we would see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think today it was probably the brightest that we have seen as we talk about the state reopening, manufacturing, construction.
10-person social gatherings will be acceptable.
Churches may be able to resume with in-person services.
Going to mandate that Kentuckians in public in certain situations must wear a facial covering.
Masks are going to be mandated now in the state of Kentucky.
After an emergency meeting with the Department of Education, they feel their hands are tied.
Those board members were crushed, and I do believe that their hands are tied. And I think it's a shame that the bullies are winning. And unfortunately, we are teaching our kids that bullies win.
We can't be making every decision for what's best for folks out of the governor's office.
Thank you so kindly. We want to play another game, so we want to do it right.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, high school football. Welcome to game time. Do we have a big power-packed show for you, or what?
Yes, we do. We've been waiting so long for this night.
First time in months, Governor Andy Beshear issues new COVID-19 restrictions.
Limiting private gatherings to 2 households, indoor dining will be banned, and this may be the biggest one. All public and private schools are ordered to be virtual by November 23rd.
I'll take the slings and arrows. I'll take the blame. I'll be the person that says no.
I'm probably in more debt than I've ever been before. If the vaccine works and more people take it, I think it'll be back to normal.
Extremely excited because I work right directly with the COVID patients.
Today, I'm issuing a new executive order to offer or expand some form of in-person instructional opportunities.
Now, this recommendation obviously very different from the one Governor Beshear made back on March 12th of last year.
1 year ago tonight, most of us had heard about the coronavirus, but there had been no confirmed cases in Kentucky. That changed 3 days later on March 6th with our first case. So let's look at the numbers over the last year. Last March, there were 595 confirmed cases. At the beginning, testing was not easy, and only those with symptoms were checked. As testing ramped up, so did the cases. So you can see a steady increase in April, May, and June. The second wave of cases started in July when we spiked to nearly 15,000 cases. The increase continued through summer and into fall. Cases spiked again as we went into the winter months. In December and January, we topped 90,000 cases. You can see the sharp decline in February, dropping just below 42,000. That downward trend is continuing just 3 days into this month. The 7-day average resembles the monthly chart, starting slow last spring and then increasing through the summer and going up in the fall and winter before our current decline. And then take a look. We've added the holidays here to the chart, and you can see cases spiked after each one of those. The virus spread as people gathered for those holiday celebrations. So here's where we currently stand. Since March 6th of last year, there have been 407,373 total cases. 1,175 reported just today. There have been just over 4,700 COVID-related deaths since the start of the pandemic. And our positivity rate now sits at 4.6%. And Sam, the good news, the hospitalization numbers also continue to decline.
Amber, thanks. We're joined now by Governor Andy Beshear. And Governor, just months into the job, you were faced with the challenge that will likely define your time in office. I'm wondering, when you learned of the first case last March, did you ever expect it would dominate our day-to-day life 1 year later?
Well, as we saw what was happening around the world, we knew how serious this could be. I mean, I remember March 6th like it was yesterday. It was beautiful. It was a Friday. I'd even left the office a little early, wanting to go throw a little baseball with my son, and that's when we got the call. I think it was probably about a week after that where we started seeing the potential projections of what our loss could be in terms of life, that it definitely sank in that regardless of why I ran for this job, that this would be the most important thing I'd ever be called upon to do as a public servant. And so to be able to commit right then that we were going to try to do this right, day in and day out, and do it right by the people of Kentucky. It has certainly dominated our lives this last year. And while it feels like it's been a long time, there's another way to look at it too. One where today we can see a lot more hope, where if that year ago you told me that 1 year in we'd have 3 effective vaccines, that we would have vaccinated 20% of the eligible population, and that we'd be on our way to defeating a 1 in every 100-year pandemic, that would have made me a little more optimistic about the long term.
You bring up the vaccine. Of course, it's bringing hope to a lot of people. More than 700,000 people just in this state have received at least one dose. You hope to double that in the next month. When do you expect life to get back to normal? That's a question I think on many people's mind.
I'm hoping that by summer, we used to think the end of summer, but maybe now even the middle of summer, that absolutely everyone who wants their shot of hope has been able to get it. Certainly by that point, we'll have a lot more normal. But I think we got to acknowledge two things. Number one is the significant grief that we feel, what we've had to go through, and that's going to take time to process. We're going to be scarred inside and out, and some of us, most of us, have had to stick our head down and move through this, and there's going to be a lot to process about those that aren't with us afterwards. But then the second piece of that is we're not going to be fully back to old normal in the way that what we've learned and how we have changed. And I hope there are a lot of positives there as well that counteract that grief. Being more united, being more connected, realizing the things we used to think were a big deal that we disagreed on aren't all that terribly important when we look at what we have been through. But certainly in terms of vaccinations, picking up faster every week, really exciting.
You prioritize school personnel for the vaccine, and we received quite a few messages that disagreed with that. Why did you put educators near the front of the line ahead of other essential workers?
Well, we prioritized our most vulnerable, which means our oldest Kentuckians and our youngest Kentuckians are vulnerable too, just in a different way. Now, we're going to become the fastest state to vaccinate our teachers. And since we made the decision, the CDC has moved up educators, and just about every state is following suit. Even with the challenges that they face with transportation and older buildings, are going to be able to get their kids back into some form of in-person learning, and ultimately that's a good thing.
Despite many successes the last year, unemployment continues to be an issue for a number of people, thousands of people. Is there anything you would have done differently? If you just had to wave that magic wand and say, all right, let's start over here, what would you have done differently?
And so this is a challenge all over the United States. We hear about it in Kentucky, but every governor I talk to is facing a similar situation. But if I could go back to the very beginning of my term, and this is before we knew that a pandemic was coming, we would have reversed cuts that had been made in the past to our personnel in UI. We would have moved faster to update a system that is pre-DOS. Its operating system was created before I was born, and it was put into place in its new iteration when I graduated from college. We would have reopened offices around the state that had been closed when times were good. We would have made those investments that we should have been making for decades.
We've seen 7 straight weeks of declining cases. Friday, most businesses, including bars and restaurants, can expand 10% more to 60% capacity. Do you anticipate moving forward, if this continues, this trend of 10% or 15% or a larger jump? What is your feel for that in terms of adding capacity?
Those are all things that suggest that we can let a little air out of the balloon, but we have to be wary. We know that there are variants of mutations of COVID out there that can spread more aggressively. So we can only open up a little capacity if we continue to enforce the very best practices. So what we're going to do, just like we have been surgical and methodical when we've had to tighten things, is we're going to take steps. We're going to make sure those steps aren't resulting in an increase of cases. And as long as we continue on our current downward trajectory while vaccinations are increasing at a really great rate, then we could expect in the future for more steps, gradual increase in capacity limits and other options as we get towards full vaccination.
I would imagine that being governor of a state in a situation like this at times can be very lonely. And I wonder how much you appreciate the support you get not only from your parents, the former governor and first lady, but also, of course, the first lady now, your wife, Brittany.
This has been so hard on all of us. It's been difficult in the impact on our kids, and many of us losing people that we love and care about. I have far too many friends that have lost both of their parents during the course of this. It's been tough. So while being a governor's been challenging, and it's been challenging on each and every one of our families. But you know what? There are hopeful days ahead. I'm more optimistic than I have been since March 6th, the very first case we had. And we're going to defeat this thing. And there is more vaccine coming every week and every month. So we are headed in the right direction. When we come out of this, let's make sure that we've learned from it. We're better people for it, and we treat each other a little better based on everything we've been through.
Governor Andy Beshear, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
On March 6th, when Kentucky learned it had its first known case of COVID-19, many were still unaware of this new virus. While we waited to learn more about it, one Harrison County family was already living the nightmare. Tonight, talking to WKYT for the first time, we are hearing from the 28-year-old Cynthiana woman who was the first of tens of thousands of Kentuckians to be diagnosed with and survive coronavirus.
It was like going to sleep and then waking up into a different reality.
This time last year, then 27-year-old Julia Donahue was fighting for her life in the hospital. But soon the entire state would learn just what she was fighting, coronavirus.
But now we do have the first positive.
In late February, Donahue said she felt sick, had a headache, fever, and flu-like symptoms. But it quickly got worse.
Then the next day I was out of breath, couldn't breathe. I had to go to the hospital because it was hard to get around.
She spent 13 days in the hospital, 4 of those on a ventilator. She remembers being told her diagnosis and, like a lot of people, had never even heard of coronavirus.
At that point, I didn't even know what COVID was, so when he said that, I was just like, I don't know what that is. What does that mean?
While Donahue was diagnosed as the first confirmed case in Kentucky, the virus was likely already circulating in her community. As a cake decorator at the Cynthiana Walmart, she was around people every day and later would learn within her small rural church there were also cases. She wasn't worried about how she got it, but rather who she may have unknowingly exposed to it.
Oh, yes. I was worried that I was going to get my husband sick and his sister and all my nieces, all the people I'm around daily, my friend at work. I was just worried about every single one of them.
Donahue, a transplant to Kentucky, says her community of Harrison County rallied around her. She believes positivity and prayers helped her fight off COVID.
The pastor and his wife came while I was still, they didn't know I had COVID yet. They came while I was sedated and anointed me and prayed over me. And I think that really, helped. All the prayers help.
In those early days of learning about COVID-19, the unknown was frightening, but Donahue was never alone.
My husband was supportive the whole time, strong for me. He was just there holding my hand, making me feel good, telling me it was going to be okay.
Now, a year later, Donahue has celebrated another birthday. He's back to doing what she loves, decorating cakes, and has a new outlook on life.
It definitely did make me look at life like it could end tomorrow. So I did appreciate the little things. I'm really blessed to be able to continue life.
And I want to thank Julia because, Sam, this has not been easy. She never wanted to be labeled the first case of COVID in Kentucky, and so I appreciate her just sharing her story with us.
This is your home county. This is where you grew up and have family. And how did you feel when you first heard the very first case in the entire state was from your hometown?
Yeah, I was sitting right over there on the news desk, and no one could have ever imagined, Sam, that Cynthiana would be sort of ground zero for that first case, if you will. I remember instantly thinking about my parents. I thought about every single person I knew in my community. Would they get sick? How bad would it be? My husband works there every single day, but I can tell you, like a lot of communities across the state, the resiliency has been amazing to see where that community was when they first heard about the first case, the unknown, and where it is now. It's really a bright spot in that community for sure.
And thank goodness this young lady is going to be okay.
Absolutely.
That's
she doesn't really have any lasting, those long hauler symptoms, not many of those, and she is appreciating life these days for sure.
Good story.
Yeah.
Well, from testing to treatment to vaccines over the last year, the medical community has come a long way on its knowledge of COVID-19. but there is still so much unknown.
We are joined now by Dr. Mark Doherty and Dr. Dan Rodriguez. Both work with infectious diseases at Baptist Health. Dr. Rodriguez, we start with you. You treated the first patient at Baptist, and sadly, he passed away a few days later. But tell us about caring for those COVID patients in those early days.
Well, the early days they didn't occur in a vacuum. I mean, to begin with, we had already seen the difficulties people had in other countries, whether it was China, Italy, being overrun with that, and actually having a case in the hospital and to start seeing those patients come in brought it to reality. And it was quite humbling in the beginning. We had to, at that point, we had already spent some time, I'm talking about weeks, trying to prepare, and it was not just preparing for treatments, but trying to prepare how do we make the hospital safe, how do we keep our health workers safe, how do we keep the patients safe, and what do we have to use. And we combed the literature, looking at thousands of articles, talking to doctors in different parts of the country, and also even talking to people in Italy in terms of what they were using. So we didn't have a lot of medicines to use at that time. Remember, when we started in March, when I saw that first patient, we had 10 patients in Kentucky, and we had 2,000 for the entire country. So we didn't have a lot of homegrown experience in terms of what to do, but we did have some ideas because people had been looking at this virus, looking in the laboratory, seeing what medications might work. At that point, hydroxychloroquine was one of those medications, and we also had other medicines that we would use for pneumonia. So those are some of the early medicines that we used. In some cases, it seemed to work maybe. In other cases, and in the case, the very first case I saw where the patient died, it didn't work. The other thing that it taught us, for example, that first case when he came in, he didn't present, when you start looking at this and you look at the case definitions for the disease out of China, they were very specific, patients that came from Wuhan that had this particular cough, fever, et cetera. And these patients weren't meeting those case definitions. The first person that I saw really didn't present with a typical COVID pneumonia. He presented with a stroke. And this was some of the early indications that these diseases were not, that COVID in particular was not all about just an infection. It was also about an inflammatory process that made patients have unusual presentations. And as time went on, we saw some of those presentations, people presenting with strokes, people presenting with heart attacks, and then having to deal with that at the same time dealing with their infection issues. So it really was a humbling experience. And it took a lot of time. It took daily trying to read literature in terms of trying to figure out what was going on, whether there were other treatments to use.
The doctors, but let me say this.
Thankfully, a lot of patients did, yes.
Well, fortunately, with each passing day, treatment options improved. Baptist Health was one of the first hospitals in the nation to use plasma from infected people to treat patients. Dr. Doherty, tell us about that treatment and what led to that breakthrough.
Well, as Dr. Rodriguez mentioned, we had been really scouring the internet, talking to our colleagues all over the country, and actually in other countries, and we were trying to determine what treatments might really be the best. We came up with several things. First, we were using hydroxychloroquine. We had high hopes for that. That really didn't pan out. We knew that convalescent plasma had been used in other outbreaks and in other diseases in the 1918 flu epidemic, and seemed to have some impact there. We also were looking at using steroids. We had been warned by some researchers and the Chinese that steroids might be ineffective and might actually make the infection worse by increasing viral replication. We had looked at using powerful anti-inflammatory medications and that can suppress the immune system as the infection progresses. And for some of the more ill patients early on, including Dr. Fox, who's going to be talking to us later, we used convalescent plasma, and we were one of the first hospitals in the country to do that. We decided that the risk-benefit ratio favored using steroids, and we were later vindicated by a study called the Recovery Trial, which appeared in June and July out of the United Kingdom, and showed that reduced mortality. And then we used a medication called tocilizumab that's usually used in rheumatoid arthritis to suppress the immune system and the overactive immune response that some people get when they become extremely ill from COVID. And actually, that was very controversial and remained controversial really until the last month, when two big international studies proved that tocilizumab can lower mortality. So we were struggling with all kinds of issues early on, and we were very fortunate to arrive at some educated guesses that proved correct.
Dr. Doherty, one of the first patients that you treated with plasma was a woman visiting from New York. Earlier this year, she sent you a message.
But I wanted to say thank you for allowing me to spend time with my family. Thank you for allowing me to spend time Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year. I know that you and your staff worked very hard on helping me out, and I want you to know that you have been in my heart all the time.
This is the hero walk for Zola Lacerna when she left Baptist last May after more than a month in the hospital. Dr. Doherty, it has to be so special to hear and see a video like that.
You know, everything seemed like it was doom and gloom at the time, and it really cheered all of us up to be able to have such great successes. We felt like it was a personal victory for all of us, all the healthcare workers here, as people survived and walked out of the intensive care unit after being on the ventilator for 4 or 5 weeks, being on continuous dialysis, being completely isolated and away from their loved ones. And that really felt like a major victory at the time.
Dr. Rodriguez, as the vaccine rollout increases, we continue to get a lot of questions about its effectiveness, how long it will last, and also people want to know, will we have to get a yearly dose similar to the flu shot?
I mean, first of all, isn't it awesome that we have 3 vaccines? That is awesome. I mean, typically it takes years to develop vaccines, and within a year now we have 3 vaccines, and all 3 vaccines, regardless of their differences, all 3 vaccines at this point are effective at preventing severe disease and death, which is fantastic. And there's still more to come in terms of information to use. So how long will it be effective? That's something that we're studying. Most of the vaccine studies are at least 2 years in length, and they'll be monitoring that. I would say that the vaccines are likely to be effective, for many months. At least, out to 6 months, whether it's yearly, we don't know. Some of the T-cell immunity may last longer. Will we need a booster? We may, because, we have variants coming up, and the vaccine makers, or at least the mRNA vaccine, Pfizer and Moderna, are creating new vaccines to address those variants. The technology has really come a long way. I mean, we're talking, the differences between this and, for example, and the flu vaccine is like night and day in terms of the ability to respond to the changes that we have in the virus.
Well, gentlemen, you have both been on the front lines. Dr. Doherty, Dr. Rodriguez, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
The pandemic has turned life and work upside down. Next, what changes some hospitals made faced with unprecedented challenges.
The right time for me is when my health became a real concern.
I kept losing the same 10 pounds over and over.
None of my clothes fit. None.
Your right time is personal, but at Ageless, great results are universal. We've helped thousands meet their weight loss goal. Call right now for your free consultation and receive $100 off your lifetime membership.
I called Ageless today because now is the right time.
Now is the right time.
Is it your right time?
At WKYT, we stand for you.
Pretty much everyone is getting in on some type of flooding.
And when it comes to your safety, being prepared and informed.
Potentially life-threatening flooding is underway.
Some of those roads are not passable.
We are dealing with all kinds of high water issues, some catastrophic scenes.
We'll be here all night to keep you guys up to date. This entire area around me was underwater.
There are several low-lying areas that are still underwater.
And every severe weather event, we will always stand for you.
Managing type 2 diabetes? You're on it. You may think you're doing all you can to manage type 2 diabetes and heart disease. But could your medication do more to lower your heart risk? Jardiance can reduce the risk of cardiovascular death for adults who also have known heart disease, so it could help save your life from a heart attack or stroke. And it lowers A1C.
Jardiance can cause serious side effects, including dehydration, genital yeast or urinary tract infections, and sudden kidney problems. Ketoacidosis is a serious side effect that may be fatal. A rare but life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this bacterial infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. And don't take it if you're on dialysis or have severe kidney problems. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar,
Lower A1C, and lower risk of a fatal heart attack?
On it with Jardiance.
We're committed to making Jardiance available and affordable. With our savings card, eligible patients pay as little as $0.
Welcome back. Just like nearly every other business, shortly after the first confirmed case of COVID-19 in the Commonwealth, hospitals made changes to their daily operations. At Baptist Health, visitor restrictions were put into place and elective procedures were put on hold. Some of that has returned to near normal, but mask requirements, temperature checks, and symptom screenings are still required. The last year has also taken its toll on healthcare workers. We're joined now by Bill Sisson, President of Baptist Health Lexington, and Karen Hill, the Chief Operating Officer. Welcome to both of you. Bill, I don't know if any of us knew what to expect a year ago. When did you know that your team would be able to handle what was to come?
Thanks, Sam. I knew from the very beginning that we'd faced many other things before. We'd never faced a pandemic, but I had no doubt that our physicians, who really led our efforts with our staff, could handle this thing. This is something that may happen again or may not, but I had no doubt that with the physician leadership and with our staff dedicated to our patients that we could not handle this pandemic. We really didn't know how things were going to come out. We didn't know how to treat some of these patients, but we felt in the end that we would get through it and would be able to take great care of our patients.
Karen, it's been a long year for healthcare workers, I can only imagine. From fatigue to risk of infection, how did you all keep your staff safe and well so that they could take care of everybody else?
Sam, it's been the longest year of my life, and I think if you asked a healthcare worker, they would all agree it's been a memorable year that we hope we don't have to repeat.
Okay.
In the very beginning, when we were not sure the volume of these patients and we didn't really know what to expect, we went into disaster preparedness mode. And we started daily phone calls between the nurses, the doctors, the respiratory therapists, the pharmacists, the lab, so that we could try to be prepared because the information was just emerging minute by minute from different sources. One of the things that we did immediately is to worry about staff safety. And we started to look at the supplies that we knew we were going to need to protect them, gloves, masks, and gowns. And we worked with our corporate office. We worked with the other hospitals in Lexington. Thank goodness we have a mayor that's a nurse this year. That was a wonderful blessing. And with the governor, so that we could try to make sure that we could get the supplies that we needed. Hospitals always keep those supplies, but not in unlimited quantities. And that was something that was really important because we had to be prepared for the what if, and we didn't really know what that was.
Bill, during the pandemic, Baptist Health had a groundbreaking for a new hospital being built in Hamburg, not far from this station. Tell us how this will help the community.
We felt because of the issues out in the community in eastern Kentucky, we wanted to make ourselves available to take care of patients and to reach us easier than having to come through Lexington. 60% of our patients come from outside of Fayette County, and we felt being out there where we can be available to people in the future would be much better for us and for our patients so that we could take care of them and reach them in a much easier fashion. So we feel that as Lexington continues to grow, that we'll need the extra care that's been provided by our second site, and we're excited about our future because we think that patients want to come to Baptist for their care, and we want to make ourselves available in the future.
Karen, final question. How do you see patient care changing as more people get the shot?
I think patient care is going to continue to change because we don't know what the effect of the variants are going to be. We want to make sure that we always remember, and one of the things that we say here at Baptist is we want to treat the patients like we would treat our families. We've tried to be respectful with people as we've had to be strict on visiting hours. We've tried to be loving and caring as we've had to separate people from their loved ones at some of the most emotional moments of your life. And we've also tried to remember that people are still having babies and families and wonderful things in the midst of this pandemic. One of the things that we want to emphasize is that good hand washing is going to go on forever, and people hopefully have developed that as a really good habit. We know that right now, for the foreseeable future, people will need to be masking. And one of the things that we want to make sure is that we're ready for the what if, because in healthcare, we never know. But one of the things that I'm the most proud of is I have confidence that our team can do it. And I really feel like that whatever the future brings to us, we're going to be ready for it.
Bill Sisson and Karen Hill of Baptist Health Lexington, thank you both for your time tonight, and good luck moving forward.
Thank you, Sam.
We've learned a lot about vaccines in the last few months, how Kentucky hospitals and researchers were part of the life-saving vaccine trial. Next.
At Furniture World Superstore, we're more than just a furniture store. We're your friends, your neighbors. A lot has changed in our community, but our commitment has always stayed the same. So when you need furniture, come see the difference family makes at Furniture World Superstore.
At Home Chef, delicious and simple go hand in hand, like a pot and lid, like salt and pepper. Point is, they go together. So it should come as no surprise that it looks like it took a long time salmon only took about 30 minutes. There, oh yeah, that's good. And wow, that was so easy, all rolled into one. So what are you waiting for? Get $90 off your first month at homechef.com. Also available at select stores. Home Chef, delicious meets simple.
Why do more people trust Baptist Health with their hearts? It's because we put you at the center of everything we do. From our treatment innovations and skilled teams who deliver care that revolves around your unique needs, to our full circle approach that keeps us by your side at every step. This is heart care that helps you return to the things your life revolves around, because this is heart care centered on you.
If you believe that a loved one has been abused or neglected while living in a nursing home, call us. The consultation is free. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
Rally's has new $3 meal deals. Pick one from a bacon cheddar crisp, a spicy chicken sandwich, or a crispy fish sandwich. Plus small seasoned fries and a drink for just $3. Rally's $3 meal deals. Get Rally's delivered.
Stay ahead of Kentucky weather on Facebook Live every weekday.
Charlie, what did you do?
We have so many sofas to choose from. Chew toys sold separately.
Come see the difference family makes at Furniture World Superstore.
Welcome back in. The creation, research, and production of a COVID-19 vaccine has been a huge scientific breakthrough. And hospitals right here in Kentucky were part of that work. UK Hospital, Baptist Health Lexington, and Norton Healthcare in Louisville were chosen as clinical trial sites for the recently approved Johnson & Johnson vaccine. The Kentucky sites had the largest pool of volunteers than any other site in the world. We are joined now by Dr. David Doherty with infectious diseases at Baptist Health. And David, what did you learn from this trial, and how was it able to help with the vaccine's approval, getting it pushed through?
Well, we learned that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is the third safe and effective vaccine against COVID-19, and that it can help bring us through this pandemic and get rid of the virus.
Talk to me about why trials like this are so very important.
Yeah, so it's important that we get volunteers. I want to thank Kentuckians for being so willing to volunteer to be part of this trial in order to rapidly develop a vaccine against a brand new novel virus like this. And we were able to do it in record time, really. And that wasn't because we took shortcuts. It was because so many people volunteered, and there was so much hard work put into these trials.
Dr. Doherty, talk to me about the people that came out to participate in these trials. What was their general attitude? Why were they there? Why did they want to be a part of it?
Generally, they were very, very positive. They wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to be a part of the solution for the pandemic, truly wanted to help out. And I'm proud of everybody that came and joined the trial.
Well, exciting to know that Kentuckians were a part of this. Dr. David Doherty, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, the state has made an effort to ramp up vaccination sites across the Commonwealth. Baptist Health Lexington joined that effort. It opened a clinic at Lexington Green back in January. Why there? Well, for easy access. Baptist Health is currently vaccinating people in phases 1A, B, and C. You do have to schedule an appointment. We're joined now by Dee Beckman, the Director of Infectious Control at Baptist Health. She oversees the hospital's vaccine clinic. Dee, welcome. How many people are you vaccinating daily and weekly right now?
Hi, good evening, Sam. Daily, we're vaccinating on average 500 people, so that equates to about 2,500 people a week.
Do you expect those numbers to go up as we receive more supply of vaccine?
We hope so. We're prepared to vaccinate over 1,000 people a day.
Well, as you go through this process, talk about the fine-tuning, what you've learned and how you are going to try to do it even better.
So we have a very efficient process right now. Folks will come in through the door. Their appointment is verified. They complete a 2-page consent form. It's reviewed by one of our pharmacists. They're registered. They receive their vaccine, and then they wait for the 15-minute observation period. Sometimes folks have to stay for the 30-minute observation period if they've had some type of reaction to a drug or food in the past.
You know, Dee, when you're doing something, this kind of work, in effect, you're saving people's lives. How does this affect you personally? How do you feel about doing this and being a part of this effort?
This has been such a grateful time for me and for all of the staff at Baptist Health Lexington that we've been able to participate in this clinic. It gives people hope. You start seeing the smile in their eyes. Since we're all wearing masks, we can't see it on their full face, but we see it in their eyes, and it gives people hope.
Well, with phase 1C and 1.3 million people in that phase, that's a whole lot of folks who will be looking for a shot in the coming weeks. What do you tell them in terms of waiting for an appointment and being patient?
Please continue to check our website, scheduleyourvaccine.com. More appointments will become available as more vaccine enters the state over the next couple of weeks.
Well, good luck to all of those people that are doing that great work with getting people the vaccination that's saving lives and changing lives. Dee Beckman with Baptist Health in Lexington. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, by the numbers, not enough people of color have received the shot. The issue is twofold.
There's hesitancy from some communities about the vaccine, and the availability can also be a challenge. WKYT's Chelsea Jones talked to one Baptist Health doctor who is working to break those barriers.
When the COVID-19 vaccine became available, Dr. Jay Gilliam was hesitant to get one.
Yeah, I was, and not for any conspiracy reasons, but history is a powerful teacher, right?
A doctor of internal medicine and pediatrics at Baptist Health, Gilliam recalled a dark history of medical experiments on African Americans.
When we talk about race relationship and racism, this nation tends to treat it as taboo. And you can't do that. You can't not fix what you're not willing to face.
African Americans have been more likely to die from COVID-19 and least likely to get vaccinated. Gilliam blames the disparities in medicine.
When we look at access, when we look at the quality of deliverance of care, there's some disparities in that, even today.
But COVID-19 pushed him to overcome his own fears. The virus affecting his family and friends. 2 of his colleagues died.
You do not have to have an underlying condition to die of this virus. And so it's definitely a wake-up call to be proactive.
After reviewing the research, Gilliam determined the vaccine was safe and got the injections. He's now encouraging others to do the same.
You know, it's not a Tuskegee experiment. It's not something that a lot of things we've gone through in our past where treatment was withheld and we were the subjects. This is something that's available to all, and the pandemic is affecting humanity.
In Lexington, Chelsea Jones, WKYT.
Dr. Gilliam has taken part in several community forums to promote the vaccine. He says if you still have reservations, do your research and ask questions.
It has been a hard year. That makes celebrating survivors even more special. Coming up, we revisit some touching moments.
At Furniture World Superstore, we're more than just a furniture store. We're your friends, your neighbors. A lot has changed in our community, but our commitment has always stayed the same. So when you need furniture, come see the difference family makes at Furniture World Superstore.
I was so tired of being tired.
I wasted a whole decade 50 pounds overweight.
No matter your reason, Angel Center offers a safe and effective way to lose 3 to 5 pounds each week. Call right now for your free consultation and receive $100 off your lifetime membership.
This is my first time trying on glasses at home.
So cute! 5 different frames from Warby Parker.
Oh, this one's better. Ooh. Ah. Hey.
The virtual try-on is perfect. Like, they look like they're on my face. Like, look at this. Just swipe and switch.
These are definitely a keeper.
I think these are the one.
Ooh, these look good. That was so easy. They make it so fun and fabulous.
When you wake up, watch live drive traffic during WKYT This Morning.
Looking for dinner made easy? See you later, same old, same old. Take a hike too hard to follow? And bye, bye, blah. Right this way, rotating weekly menu. Simply delighted, simple instructions. Very nice to meet you, variety of meal kits. Well, hello there, Home Chef. Pre-portioned ingredients and simple-to-follow recipes delivered straight to your door. Get $90 off your first month at homechef.com. Home Chef. Delicious meat simple.
Watch WKYT on all your streaming devices. Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Standing with you however you stream.
You guys want another reason to feel good?
Look at that view.
Were you here to interrogate me?
This is your fantasy.
You go, girl. You want some cash?
And we take winning very seriously.
I heard there was a party.
Charlie, what did you do?
We have so many sofas to choose from. Chew toys sold separately.
Come see the difference family makes at Furniture World Superstore.
These videos never get old. This is another hero walk at Baptist Health, but this one is a little more special. That is Dr. Jeff Fox. He is a well-known, longtime family doctor here in Lexington. He spent a month in the hospital recovering, 3 weeks on a ventilator. He, too, was treated with plasma therapy. We are joined now by Dr. Jeff Fox, a longtime, as I said, Lexington physician and now COVID-19 survivor. Dr. Fox, we were there when you were being wheeled out of Baptist Health in April after that hard-fought battle with COVID-19. Tell me what was going through your mind when you left the hospital that day.
Well, when I left, Amber, I was still kind of foggy from all the medication and the depletion. But what I remember is just an overwhelming sense of gratitude. You know, thanks to God that I was still there, to the hospital who's here for our community, to the infectious disease doctors and pulmonologists who did absolutely everything they could think of to keep me alive, to my family practice group who checked on me every day. Special thanks to my family who got me through rehab, and to my daughter's dog, Daisy, who helped me rehab and get back on my feet.
I know that dog is special to you. Dr. Fox, how are you doing today? Do you experience any of those long hauler symptoms that we hear about in COVID patients?
Well, I'm pretty lucky. There are patients that do have some long-hauling symptoms. I do have some scarring in my lungs. I don't have as much energy as I used to, but I'm not as young as I was either. So overall, I'm doing really pretty good. There are some people who struggle with that, but overall, I'm thankful.
You received one of those donations of convalescent plasma. It was from a stranger, ironically, in Harrison County, where that first case was confirmed. Dr. Fox, how grateful are you to that person, and have you talked to him since?
I talked to Ray earlier. It is an extraordinary act of kindness for anybody to really just to give of themselves to a total stranger who they didn't even know, knew nothing about. He got the request, didn't ask questions, but came and did it. And it was one of the many things that were tried on me, and I am thankful that he did that.
I know that when people go through situations like this, Dr. Fox, did this change anything about you, and certainly that outlook on life as you continue on?
Well, I think that's the real thing. I think a lot of us has learned that you don't live forever. I am thankful and grateful that I am still alive when 500,000 other people aren't. And every day I'm grateful for this day and hope that we continue on the path we are, for everybody to stay healthy and for the virus to no longer surge and be like it has been.
Dr. Fox, Sam Dick here. You were in this studio right before you found out, I believe, that you had COVID, and we're so thankful that you've made it and survived and you're alive. What's your message to people who may still be reluctant about getting a vaccine?
Well, Sam, I think I probably actually talked to you. I think I did an interview with you right before I got sick, and it's still. It's important to do all the things, wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask. But if you get the opportunity, get a vaccine. I mean, I've had my vaccine. I think it's safe. It's effective. The side effect profile of that is really good, and the minor side effects you might have are nowhere in comparison to being on a ventilator for 3 weeks.
Dr. Fox, I know that you love your patients. Are you back to treating your patients on a daily basis?
I started in the fall doing telehealth. After I got my vaccines, I've gone back into the exam room, and now I'm seeing follow-ups and physicals. Still a little anxious about seeing infectious disease. That worries me a little bit. We try to do that telehealth, but overall, I'm getting back into seeing folks live.
Well, Dr. Jeff Fox, you have been a longtime friend here at this station, and I echo what Sam said. We are so grateful that you are doing well and that you're here with us tonight.
I am thankful, too, and thank you all for taking the time to do this for the hospital, for Lexington, and for the physicians and nurses that take great care of the people here.
Dr. Jeff Fox, thank you.
Great to see him.
It is great to see him.
Dr. Fox is not the only survivor whose story we've been able to share.
Yeah, here are some other Kentuckians who have celebrated beating this virus over the year.
They came, signs in hand, all waiting to celebrate.
We're excited to be here and just welcome her home. We've all been praying for her for the last 20-plus days.
Friends and family of Lexington physician assistant Sheila Thornsberry had every right to mark this incredible moment. The wife and mother was taken to the emergency room on April 1st and was released 23 days later after having spent nearly the entire time in the ICU fighting COVID-19 and on a ventilator. The wait for her recovery was agonizing on her family.
This was really tough, being away from her for so long and knowing what all she's gone through, and just
be there to help. We were there when Thornsberry was driven past countless friends and family, all celebrating her recovery. After beating COVID-19 in November, Reverend William Marks was finally able to go home. Family and friends couldn't believe it. His sister, the first to give him a hug.
Just an amazing, amazing uncle.
Marks was excited to see his loved ones. It had been a long journey. What started with hip surgery ended with his health taking a turn for the worse and being diagnosed with COVID-19.
Hallelujah. Glory. He made it. He made it.
Marks is blind, but even with a mask, his joyful spirit is present. The 77-year-old has been preaching since he was a teenager. His family credits his quick recovery to his unwavering faith.
I feel good. God be the glory.
And I fought hard to live.
For Patricia Martin of Frankfort, her battle started August 2nd.
I first received a call that she was being taken via ambulance to the hospital. And then within hours, she had been diagnosed.
Martin's journey, like so many who have battled COVID-19, was a difficult one.
I just want people to know that it is a battle, but I used every ounce of faith I had in God to get me through this.
It was a 44-day battle with COVID for Martin. She survived and is celebrated for her brave fight.
I was positive because I knew that I was to live.
Meredith Willett of Lexington wrote about every moment in her family's COVID journey.
You were getting worse by the minute, and I'm truly sorry I didn't take you to the hospital sooner.
Her husband, Jeff, was admitted to Baptist Health on August 25th. He and Meredith both contracted COVID-19, but he became very sick.
Leaving you was the hardest thing I had ever done, but they would not let me come into the hospital at all. I did wonder if it would be the last time I would ever see you again.
Meredith kept a journal documenting every procedure, every doctor and nurse involved, and her emotions at the time. Jeff was on a ventilator for almost 3 weeks. After day 19, he slowly started to improve, and his wife was allowed to see him.
There are no words to how I felt that moment. You were going to make it.
Sam, those will never get old seeing. And what I always think when we were able to show one of those is that how terrifying that must have been in that moment to drop your loved one off at the hospital doorstep and not know what was going to happen, and how amazing it was when they came rolling out, wheeling out, walking out, and to be able to know that they had beat COVID-19. It gives me chills.
You know, for almost a year now, the two of us have done a lot of the anchoring here at WKYT for the coverage of this extremely important story. And, of course, during almost every newscast, we talk about the numbers of people who've either died or have recovered or perhaps have been got the shot or been treated. I think it's important to remember that those numbers are people. They go way beyond a number. It's somebody's grandmother, somebody's father, somebody's sister or brother or sister. These are people we're talking about, and that's really, when it comes down to it, is this whole thing's been about the people making it through this whole situation.
And we say thank you to those people that shared their stories with us, because they certainly didn't have to. Well, it has been an honor for us to share stories like those, but we are fully aware of the toll COVID-19 has had on this state.
More than 4,700 Kentuckians have lost their lives to this virus. We have shared hundreds of stories of loss and pain. We grieve with you and mourn the lives lost.
And we are humbled to have your trust to give you the information you need each day to make the best decisions for you and your family. We know this isn't easy. It has been a really long year.
Yes, it has. But we will get through this. We thought it would be fitting to end tonight with a touching display of kindness and love.
Green lights at your homes, the state capitol, even our doors here at WKYT. The governor talks about green being the color of renewal and compassion.
Thank you for watching tonight. We appreciate it.
Hey everybody, Joe with BJ, the owner of West Shore Home. And BJ, I know we've talked a lot in the past about how your team makes the bath remodeling process so easy and efficient, but today we get to see the process up close.
That's right, Joe. Good morning. Well, let's go over to the bathroom and check it out. All right, Joe, so what you see here is a pretty typical job for us. It's a little bit old and outdated, this one dating back to the 60s. And people are going to replace this for two reasons. First, they want something more modern and stylish. Second, it's for the maintenance. They're really tired of dealing with the grout and the mold and the mildew, and they want something that's going to be easier to clean.
So you're going to replace this bath with a brand new bath, and you're going to do it in one day.
That's right, Joe. We replace hundreds of baths like this every single day, and we're going to take out this old, outdated tub and replace it with something beautiful and modern.
I got to see this.
All right, let's get started.
Okay, so it's around noon right now. They just finished the tear out of the old bath. They're super efficient. It's super clean in here too. And now it's time to install the new bath. Wow. So modern, so beautiful, and what a transformation. Folks, seeing really is believing, and you saw it here today. The experts at West Shore Home can transform your bathroom just like this, and they can do it in one day. They really make it easy. So if you're tired of dealing with your old bath, call the number on your screen right now to set up a free quote on a bath replacement and take advantage of this special offer. Get your new shower or bath for as little as $99 a month. And if you call now, West Shore Home will completely waive the installation cost, so you can get that project started with free installation too. Give West Shore Home a call to get your project started today.
Error. Air garage not found.
Everything these days claims to be smart. But that doesn't mean they always work smart. One smart thing you can rely on is Pennington Smartseed. It's so smart it uses 30% less water year after year and is guaranteed to grow. Now that's smart that works. Pennington Smartseed, real intelligent turf.
We are tracking a breaking news alert right now on WKYT.
And there's still a lot we're working to find out this morning. Let's get right to...
It's a busy night here at WKYT. We are tracking breaking news in Lexington. Police confirmed tonight that
protests again in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country. For a fourth night, a large group has gathered in...
Explore, compare, and find your car at mancars.com.
Man, what a deal.